So we have some news to go over that came out in the past few days from Justin Dunk of 3 Down Nation. And this is that the Packers are meeting with Canadian college quarterback Taylor Elgersma today. It says here from Justin Dunk, Canadian quarterback Taylor Elgersma has scheduled a top 30 visit with the Green Bay Packers on Wednesday, April 16th, per sources. So when we look at the Packers and their current quarterback situation, there is some uncertainty after 2025. For 2025, this season, the Packers are fine at quarterback. Jordan Love, QB1, Malik Willis, QB2, Sean Clifford, QB3, and currently there's only those 3 quarterbacks on the Packers roster. But because of Malik Willis becoming a free agent after the season and Sean Clifford also he'll be an exclusive rights free agent after the season, there is some uncertainty as to whether or not those guys will be back in 2026. And so because of that, I do think the Packers are going to have to draft a quarterback in this draft or pick one up after the draft, whether that's an undrafted player or something like that, just because of the uncertainty when it comes to Malik Willis and Sean Clifford. And I think when we look at Malik Willis last year, he played so well when Jordan Love was down that I assume there are other teams around the NFL that watched Malik Willis play and have to be thinking to themselves that if they are in a situation where they don't have a solid quarterback and their quarterback room is shaky after the 2025 season, they have to at least consider bringing in Malik Willis to compete for the starting job. Because I do feel like in the right system, Malik Willis can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And so because of that, I just feel like another team out there is going to be willing to pay him money the Packers don't want to pay him as a backup quarterback. So I assume he'll be gone after the 2025 season. And then with Sean Clifford, there's some uncertainty there. Last year during the preseason, Sean Clifford had the opportunity to become the Packers' backup quarterback, and he was competing with Michael Pratt, Packers 2024 7th round draft pick, for that backup job. And it did not go well, because if it had gone well, the Packers would not have drafted or traded for Malik Willis for a 7th round pick. And so because neither Clifford or Pratt really separated themselves during that preseason, that's why Gutekunst made the decision to trade for Malik Willis, and things ended up going well. And so maybe the Packers keep Clifford after the year, and still, though, you need more quarterbacks on the roster heading into 2026. And so that's where it comes down to now when we look at Taylor Elgersma. So he played college football in Canada. He's 6'5", 227, and he actually won the Canadian football Heisman Trophy. They call it the Heck Crichton Trophy. Justin Dunk says it's Canadians' equivalent to the Heisman Trophy. And so there's no doubt that he was very good, basically the best player in all of Canadian college football as a quarterback. And so he is intriguing. He was one of the first players. It says here from the Justin Dunk article, the 6'5", 227-pound passer has been on the NFL's radar since he became the first youth sports quarterback ever to accept an invite to the Senior Bowl in January. Elgersma completed 4 of 7 pass attempts for 57 yards in the annual showcase game and ran the ball once for 3 yards. It's worth noting the Packers sent a scout to his pro day in Buffalo. And so being one of the first youth sports quarterbacks, which I looked that up, and that's basically their college football league, one of the first to have an invite to the Senior Bowl, that is pretty remarkable. And so he definitely has talent. I also read that he spoke with 25 teams at the Senior Bowl. I think it's from Sportscada or something like that. And so there are teams who are keeping an eye on him. The Packers seem to be one of them. The fact that they're bringing him in today signifies that they at least have some kind of interest. And when we look at these top 30 visits for the Packers, they do draft a good amount of those guys. I was reading from Tom Silverstein. I think he said close to around 20% or so in the past few years they've drafted guys who have come in for top 30 visits. And this is a guy that looks like he'll probably go pretty late. Matt Miller of ESPN, draft expert, has him as a 7th rounder. Dane Brugler of The Athletic has him more as a potential, undrafted guy who gets picked up by another NFL team. And so he's someone that was very productive during his time in Canada. He had a total of 78 touchdowns and 33 interceptions at Wilfrid Laurier University in Canada. And I guess the big question is, how is his play in Canada, where It's a different setup there. They play with 12 players. It looks much different than American football. I was watching some highlights of Elgersma, and I haven't watched much Canadian football in the past. Honestly, pretty much none. Maybe a few highlights here or there that pop up on X or Twitter. But it looks a lot different. The end zone looks like it's about a mile long. I'm not sure why it's so massive. And you have, receivers running around. It would definitely be, what they were doing would definitely be a penalty in the NFL. So he has some things to adapt to, but if he can throw the ball well, I don't think it'll be, that complicated to change to an American football game. And so this will be interesting if the Packers decide to bring him in. I do think there could be there are some unknowns here, but maybe he comes in and is a solid, quarterback in the NFL, maybe a backup in the future. And we just know with the Packers, they always like to have other quarterbacks in the wing just in case. And thank goodness Brian Gutekunst last year made the decision to trade for Malik Willis, because the Packers, without Malik Willis, probably would have lost a few more games. And that's why I think you always have to be keeping an eye out for potential quarterbacks to bring in. And the Packers, that's why they drafted Sean Clifford in 2023, round 5, Michael Pratt, 2024, round 7. They didn't draft a quarterback in 2021 and 2022 just because Rodgers was still playing and Jordan Love was the backup, so they didn't really have to focus on other guys at that time. And they did bring a few guys in from time to time, just not in the draft in those couple of years. But then once Jordan Love took over, that's when they made that decision. Okay, let's bring in Clifford. Then they also brought in Michael Pratt. And the Packers have always liked to bring in multiple quarterbacks because you never know what could happen with injuries, and you want to always be prepared. And so I think that's why they're meeting with someone like Elgersma, because they are preparing for 2026 when Sean Clifford and Malik Willis could both be gone from the Packers. So we'll keep an eye on this. We'll see what happens next week in the draft, only about a week away. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe and turn on the post notifications. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.